Hey Achievers, this is Maya, founder of Healthy High Achievers. Join our global community and create healthier routines to avoid burnout and feel more calm and healthy. Let's get to it. Hey Achievers, welcome back. I'm so excited. Today I have Tara Goebel on the show. Well, Tara is the author of the book Mi Vida Loca, The Diary of a Teen Mom, and I love that title. And she's also a travel agent in Canada. Now, Tara has Hashimoto's disease, which has caused her to burn out several times, but she keeps fighting through it as she's building a business. So, Tara, you also love writing, you also love traveling, you also have chronic disease, and you're also building your business. How haven't we met before?
Yeah, no kidding. I'm surprised our paths haven't crossed sooner.
Right? Me too. Now, so for the people listening and watching who don't know Hashimoto's, it's one that we see a lot in functional medicine because it's an autoimmune disease, which means that the body kind of starts attacking itself. So the immune system is attacking a part of the body, and in this case, it's the thyroid. So tell me a bit more about your story with Hashimoto's. When did you start noticing that your health or hormonal balance wasn't what it should be? And when did you get diagnosed?
So I had my kids really young. So when I was 19, I had my second child, and I ended up having to get my gallbladder removed, which was very odd because I was really healthy. I ate quite well. I was young, obviously. I was in good shape. So I was really surprised. I got that removed because I had gallstones and just kind of carried on with life. I ended up having a miscarriage in 2008. And then I kind of went through some depression afterwards. There's just a lot going on, obviously, being young parents and having a miscarriage and just dealing with life and going through all those kinds of things. Never really thought anything of it, just assumed it was just kind of going with the motions. And then in 2015, I think it was, I found myself like incredibly exhausted. It didn't matter how much rest I got, didn't matter how well I ate, how much exercise I got. I was just like exhausted. There was just nothing. I would come home from work at lunch and have a nap. And that just wasn't like me. I've always been very busy and active and just never been the type that had to have a nap in the afternoon. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was gaining weight. It was just everything just seemed to be kind of attacking me. So I went to the doctor several times, and it took them a lot of blood work to finally figure out what was wrong. At first they tried to tell me I was just depressed and it was stress and blah blah blah. I'd been through a lot of stressful situations, but it was nothing new, and I kind of knew how to deal with my stress. So I knew it wasn't that. Like this just something wasn't right. And finally they did an antibodies test and found out that everything was kind of out of whack. It's really hard to diagnose Hashimoto's because sometimes your thyroid numbers will be okay. And if they don't do the antibodies test, they don't find it. So it was a lot of me trying to advocate for myself and saying, like, I think maybe there's something wrong with my thyroid, and just constantly doing research. And there wasn't a lot of family history that I could go on. My grandma had had her thyroid removed when she was very young, but back in those days, their answer when it wasn't acting properly was just to remove it. They didn't try to figure out why it wasn't working properly. So that was kind of what led me to the thyroid in the first place, was knowing that she had had hers removed. But yeah, it took a really long time. Then it took a very long time to get the medication levels where I needed them to be. And every once in a while now, when I go through a stressful situation, or I just had to have a hysterectomy because I had endometriosis and fibroids and adenomyosis. So now my body's kind of going through another traumatic stage, and I'm trying to find the levels that I need to be at. So it's just a never-ending battle, and you're always
Yeah.
trying to level out all of your hormones and take the right medications and eat the right foods, and it's quite the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And the crazy thing is that you had to figure out for yourself kind of, okay, where's this coming from? You were looking at your own timeline and antecedents and kind of, your family history to figure that out. You're like, hey, maybe it's the thyroid. Because sometimes with all the research and doctors, and you're asking like yourself, like, why? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I so exhausted? But sometimes you're your own best investigator somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really strange because I've even been to like an actual thyroid specialist, and they don't know enough about the autoimmune part of it to even
Yeah.
tell you what's going on. They walked in and they're like, "Yeah, your thyroid is dead." Okay, so now what do I
Okay.
do? Like,
Yeah.
nobody tells you what they put you on Synthroid. They tell you like, "Here you go, you're going to be on this for the rest of your life," but they never tell you what else you should be incorporating into your lifestyle and what else you should be eliminating and other symptoms to watch for. Like this last time that I went in, because I've had my gallbladder removed and now I've had a hysterectomy and I've had all these things. So I'm running out of body parts to take out. So I'm like, what is it going to attack next? Like, and they said
Yeah.
that B12 could be the next thing. So I have to really be on top of things because you can't just take the Synthroid and expect that that's going to fix everything because it just finds something else to attack.
Hmm. Yeah, and just as you said, when the body's just attacking everything, parts of the body, it really comes down to, okay, what's happening there? Why is the immune system attacking other parts? What is happening? So that's why sometimes a specialist of a thyroid, like a thyroid is so sensitive to all the parts of the body, to so many things, to stress, but stress in every way, also like bacteria and everything. And so it's so hard to separate that organ, kind of that part of the body, and just say like, okay, we're just gonna look at this thing. It's so connected to all the systems in the body. So that's
Yeah.
where, yeah, you want to ask yourself, where is the autoimmunity coming from, right? Where is that immune system attacking your own body? Where is that coming from? So wow,
Yeah.
that search for you, just the frustrations of, I'm living healthy, I'm eating healthy, I'm moving, and still it's not helping with the exhaustion. I can relate to the core.
Yeah. Oh,
So
it's awful.
especially, yeah, when the symptom is fatigue, it's a very untangible, a weird symptom. If you have
Yeah.
muscle aches, which I also had, but when it's muscle aches or when it's digestive issues or something, it's kind of more tangible than fatigue in a way. So well, you've been through so much and you're here, like you said, you're fighting through it. What has helped you to hmm, what has helped you so far to keep that balance and to just be strong and find your own solutions in the process?
I think just knowing, like, I have a daughter and I just want to get this all sorted out so that she doesn't have to go through the same thing. Because obviously, like I said, my grandmother had her thyroid removed when she was quite young. And I know she dealt with a lot of like mental health issues throughout the years. And I think a lot of that was from the thyroid, and she possibly had autoimmune disease as well, but going undiagnosed, she wouldn't know what's wrong with her body, and I'm sure that that caused some anxieties and all
Mm,
that type of thing. So I think that knowing what I have helps, and it just kind of drives me to find out more. It's just like this constant trial and error kind of thing, like eliminating foods, eliminating exercises. Like I've learned that I'm not one that can do a lot of cardio. What I've researched and found is that because it ups your cortisol levels, that sometimes your autoimmune will kind of trigger from that. So that was something I didn't know. I've worked with many personal trainers, like trying to
yeah.
maintain, and none of them have ever mentioned like, with this disease you probably shouldn't do that. So yeah, it's just kind of, there's just so much that goes into it, and it just involves so many parts that it's kind of amazing in its own way. I wish I wasn't the guinea pig, but I mean it's been kind of motivating, like I said, to make sure that the my future generations don't go through the same thing if I can kind of get a lid on it.
Yeah,
And
what a
just trying to
powerful.
eliminate medications.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to live in that for the rest of your life. And what a powerful motivator to have that thought of, okay, I want to take care of my future generation. So fine, I will do the work.
Yeah.
It's my turn now. Great, I'll do
Yeah.
it. Just so that it's out of this whatever family line and your daughter
Yes.
can just live a healthy life. So is that story with Hashimoto's a big part of your book as well? Because it says like it's your diary as a teen mom, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's mostly my book is more about the struggles of being a teen mom. And then I do bring in a little bit about my diagnosis in there, but it was still really kind of fresh when I started the book. So looking back now, I can see a lot of the things that I went through that were probably because of my disease, but I didn't realize. So I don't know if it's good or bad that I had kids young, but I really feel that, the universe aligns things the way that they're supposed to happen.
Mm.
And the way that my body has kind of struggled since I've gotten older, I think if I wouldn't have had my kids when I did, I don't know if I would have been able to carry a pregnancy to term. So, yeah, everything happens for a reason. But yeah, that book is more about kind of my struggles through that process, like being a teen mom, being a young mom, living in a smaller community, all of that kind of stuff. Maybe my next one will be more about what I've learned
Ah.
through through all of this. But yeah, it's been an interesting few years. Like, people deal with stress and they're able to just kind of deal with stress. But when we have stress, it affects so much more than just our mental health. It's your entire body. And it's just so exhausting that I don't think people really understand what it takes out of a person that has an autoimmune disease.
Very true. I feel like I got so used to that already to just be very careful with stress in every way. So even stress with like not non-natural food, like a bag of Doritos. Even that is a big stress on my body, and I can immediately feel the effect. So whether it's not sleeping well one night, or it's a bag of Doritos, or it's mental stress, it's actual stress from work or building a business, or it's stress from there are so many different ways that we can have stress in life that affects when you have chronic disease. It increases that cortisol, like you said, those stress levels makes the immune system even go more haywire, and so it can create more havoc than people realize. So how do
Yeah.
you mentioned that you had a couple of almost burnouts or burnouts through the years. When was, let's say, one example of a moment when you burnt out, and how are you dealing with that right now? It's kind of two questions.
Yeah. So actually, I'm kind of recovering from one right now. Our daughter got injured really bad 2 years ago at work. She's 19, she was 17 at the time. She got kicked by a horse. And so she had to have her face reconstructed. She had a brain bleed. It's just been a really long process of dealing with her getting better from healing from all of the trauma. And she was graduating at the time, and so she's been dealing with a ton of PTSD and mental health, and just trying to understand that this is now her life. So that really, you go through the motions, you get through what you need to go through. Like, it's amazing how you can get through it. You're there for who you need to be there for. Like, I stayed in the hospital with her for 5 days. She was on a blended diet for 6 weeks because she had broken her jaw. She had to lay on a 40-degree angle. It was just a lot on both my husband and I. And we got through it, but afterwards, probably about a year later, I realized that I had gained quite a bit of weight. I was really struggling with kind of feeling depressed and anxious. And I mean, of course it's normal. You're going to feel some exhaustion after dealing with something so traumatic, but it just kind of lingered longer than it should have. And so and then I had my hysterectomy. So I realized that my body was pretty run down, and finally went in and got some blood work done and seen that, yeah, my levels are completely out of whack again.
Mm.
So now I'm going through the process of just trying to find the ways to deal with it now. Like every time you go through a burnout, the recovery is different. What worked the last time doesn't necessarily work the next time.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's just you just got to keep burning out to learn from it.
But
um,
it yeah,
I-
I'd love to just dive into that because it's something that, I talk a lot with people about that and burning out and finding that balance, but it's something that no one has mentioned before, and it's so true that every time you burn out, you need something different. The same
yeah,
with chronic disease, every time you have a setback, you kind of need something different. And with everything in life, with every
yeah.
breakup or hardship, your body has, and your mind and your heart, you are different and you have different needs. So how did you discover that?
I just I just noticed that this burnout wasn't the same. Like I didn't I've been exhausted, but just in a different way. Like I can still function. I don't need to nap, but it's just like something's just off. And I gained more weight again. And weight gain was never an issue for me, but this last time I guess COVID, of course, everybody gained weight throughout that process, but I
Yeah.
seem to have kind of gained a lot more than is normal for me. And like I said, I still go to the gym all the time. I eat fairly healthy. I eat consistently though, like I'm always hungry. But I've learned that I definitely this time around, I have to cut out gluten. I've noticed that's a huge trigger for me, especially this time. It's triggering different things now. I don't know if I've been getting different rashes and my joints are really sore. I'm sure it's because I had my hysterectomy. So there's different hormones that are affecting different things now. But yeah, it's just been kind of a trial and error of what works and what doesn't. It just
Yeah.
sucks because it's such a long process to find out if something works. And then if it doesn't, then you get to start all over again. But yeah, like I noticed the last time, just taking some different vitamins would help me. But this time I've got to do a whole elimination, and that's been really helping. Like I've noticed, even I was on anxiety medication and I cut that out, and now I'm trying a more natural anxiety vitamin because it was affecting my body the wrong way. I don't know
Mm.
if something was attacking something else, but it was just not not helping me in the way that it should. So yeah, it's been quite the process. It's just yeah,
Yeah.
it's exhausting in itself, and I wish I would have documented a lot more when I first found out, but like I said, you go to the doctor and they're like, "Hey, we found this out, you have Hashimoto's. Here's your Synthroid. You're gonna have to take this for the rest of your life. We'll monitor your levels." And that's it. They send you on your way. So I'm like, "Perfect. I have a diagnosis. I'm gonna be better." And then it was like, "No, that wasn't the end
Ah,
all be all."
exactly. I recognize that feeling so much of being like, oh, there's a name, and oh, okay. And then you leave the hospital and you're like, oh, wait, but they said it's for my whole life. But that can't be
Yeah.
right. There must be something I can do, right? This can't be it.
Yeah. And you don't think of yourself as sick because, well,
Mm.
for myself anyway, like I don't get sick. I don't get the common cold. I don't get the flu, but I get tired. And I took
Yeah.
a really long time for me to actually be able to say that I have a disease. Like I just kind of thought I was being whiny for a long time. And, like, oh, you've got medication, you're fine. But no, like it really is just your whole body. It takes over absolutely everything, your mind and your body. So, yeah, it's just, I think admitting that you actually have something yourself too.
Exactly, because it took me a long time to at first I was telling people because I liked the fact that I had a name finally to explain to people.
Yeah.
And then as there were some misunderstandings, people who wouldn't understand that one day I might be very energetic and good to do whatever, and then the next day I might just lie flat and be exhausted. And that difference every day is different, and that's hard for people to understand. So then I was
Yeah.
like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep this a secret. I'm just, I'm just not gonna tell anyone. I'm fine now. I even told people like, okay, it's over, my health problems. But then I realized it's not that it's over, it's just that I've learned how to adapt to it and how to
Mm-hmm.
listen to my body just like you do, and really listen to tune in and hear what it needs, because like
Mm-hmm.
you've developed that skill just like I did, to really tune into the body and listen. Okay, do I need to eliminate this? Okay, I think gluten, I'm reacting to this. Or you said, okay, this time it's vitamins. You just trial and error and listening to the body, and trusting those messages from the body more than whatever specialist could tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just too bad that there isn't more information. And like you said, everybody's is disease is kind of different. So finding that, like getting to that place where you kind of understand your body and what it's trying to tell you takes a really long time. And I wish that part was shorter because yeah, I've just spent so many years just trying to figure out what works for me and what doesn't. And as I said, it's sometimes it's different. And as you get older too, and your hormones change and you're going through all that stuff too, it's just like, when will this end? When will I just find a balanced life? But I think I'm getting there. I think like I've just gotten more in tune and I've gotten a lot of things kind of fixed and moved out. So I
Literally.
think that'll help. Yeah. Yeah, it's been an interesting process, that's for sure.
Yeah, interesting it is for sure. And then now you're building your business, Tara. And I really wanted to have you on the show today just to give another example of someone with chronic disease who just builds a business, who just says, I'm going to do this. And I'm the same. I'm very entrepreneurial. I love doing a million things, even though I have that history with chronic fatigue and everything. And I recently
Yeah.
had a client who was like, hey, Maya, I want to work with you, but how is, the chronic fatigue affecting you still? And I found it's
Yeah.
been a long time since anyone asked me that question or had that doubt, because I usually don't talk too much about my story. But now that I'm talking more about it, I had this comment from a client. I'm like, okay, interesting. The fact that I have my business in my case gives me more freedom and balance, because I don't have to be at an office at 9 a.m and
Mhm.
leave until like stay until 5 p.m. If my body is asking me for something different, for more rest or whatever it is, I can adapt to it. I can chill more in the morning, do some more work in the afternoon. Like, it helps me to flow with my changing energy levels. But what is it
Yeah.
like in your case? First, if you want to tell us what kind of business you're building, and what's the experience like for you having a business or building a business with chronic disease?
So yeah, like I work full time. So I work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then I'm also a travel agent in the evenings and weekends. So I do that and then I write. And now I've started trying to podcast a little bit more. So yeah, I definitely have to use my downtime to
Mm,
rest and recover. Doing travel especially, it's not just a like, you know, within bankers hours. Like people are contacting you when they're traveling. They want their quotes right away. So it's definitely something that can be very time consuming and exhausting and but I love it. So that just makes it so much easier to do because I am so passionate about it. But I do have a team that helps me too. So when I'm busy,
mm,
they'll take over. So that helps. Like having someone to rely on, that makes a big difference because I don't think I could do it otherwise. Just because I think the stress that you put yourself under would be enough to throw me into another downward spiral because I mean you want everybody to be happy and you want your business to be successful. So
mm.
yeah, definitely relying on others and just reaching out for things that I'm not good at and getting those done by people that are good at it, because yeah, I'm not good at everything. I actually just recently decided that I might hire a housekeeper, because that's definitely not something I'm good at, and I just don't have the time.
Of course.
And it's exhausting. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's just those little things that can give you a little bit of time to yourself to recover. I think that makes a big difference, and to be able to enjoy your downtime when you do have it. And hopefully one day I'll be able to do the travel stuff all the time, and podcast and share my story and help other people. That's my end all be all. Hopefully it comes sooner rather than later, but the biggest step was definitely getting my book out there too, because I just needed to kind of close that chapter of my life and be able to move on. It was something that was always in the back of my head, having had kids so young. So I wanted to share my story that way, and now I want to move on to the next chapter, just like, unfortunately it's health stuff, and but we get some fun stuff in there too, with the travel, and just making your way through life as a woman nowadays, and being open and honest about what you're going through. I think it's great that people are embracing that and not hiding from it, because
Mhm.
so many people can benefit from understanding what people like you and I are going through. Because, yeah, they're, like I said, when my grandma went through her stuff, she's not around anymore for me to ask any questions. But had she been, I don't think she even would have been able to pinpoint what put her through certain things, just because it was never talked about. So it doesn't, you just don't think about it.
Yeah. And I think you and I sometimes don't realize how important it is to share that story
Yeah.
for others to be inspired and to hear our story. Because I for sure didn't talk enough about my story in the beginning until people told me, like, Maya, you only wrote about it once. You need to share it more often, And people
Yeah.
want that inspiration, want that hope, those example stories. Look at you
Yeah.
now, defying and writing a book and being a travel agent and all the things, and now
Just
starting a podcast.
ADD.
Yeah, but I think with that exhaustion being a main symptom, I feel like we value every little bit of energy so much more. So whenever we
Yeah.
have time, we really have downtime. We really need to rest. It's a necessity. But when we have energy, we don't want to waste it on random things. It's like it's not a given feeling energy and being able to do things. So now that when we have energy, we actually want to use it to do the things that we enjoy and our passions. And like you
Yeah.
said, writing that the next chapter, but that could be like a chapter in your next book, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, it's a big thing. Like, you take, I think we kind of appreciate our time a little bit more than others do, because it is so in between. Like, you just never know, tomorrow might not be, we might not feel up to doing what we need to do, so we need to
Yeah.
get it done as soon as we can. And sorry, my puppy is taking over my life here.
People who are watching on YouTube, you can actually see this little, looks like a
He's
big
a
one.
corgi crossed with a German shepherd, so he's
So
got
it's a
the
huge
German shepherd
corgi.
body, but yeah, yeah, he keeps me busy.
Love
Yeah,
that.
no,
Love that.
I think it just really, yeah, you just really learn to appreciate your time, and to appreciate what your body can and cannot do, because like, it really has been through the ringer, and it just keeps on going no matter what. So yeah, just appreciating it and letting it heal when it needs to, because like I said, we don't get the normal colds and the flu and that kind of thing, but like, we get these debilitating exhaustion sections of time that just,
Yeah.
yeah,
That are
they
hard to
take over.
explain. Yeah, and they
Oh,
take over.
it's just, yeah, it's weird. Your mind is still ready to go, but your body just isn't cooperating. So
It's like, nope, not today.
yeah.
It often feels like your mind wants a million things, but then your body's like, nope, not gonna do that.
Yeah, and then when you go through the brain fog too, like,
Mm.
that can be so frustrating, because I used to have the best memory, and now it's like I can be in the middle of a conversation and then it's just gone. It's like,
Yeah.
what is going on? But
Yeah.
then when I'm feeling good and I'm in my zone and like all my levels are good, that's not there anymore. So it's just like being in tune with that.
Absolutely. And so many gems in our conversation today, but really appreciating those bits of energy, being in tune with your body. And like you said, as an entrepreneur with chronic disease, just really having that downtime, and downtime is really downtime. And like you said,
Yeah.
having your team, having people who work for you, who support you, who can just outsourcing the things. I have a cleaning lady too who does the deep cleaning like every 2 or 3
Yeah.
weeks because it's just way too exhausting for me, and I do the more superficial cleaning. And it's
Yeah.
fine, just get the help. I know we often try to do everything ourselves because I still can, right? Because I
Hmm.
can do this, like this stubbornness, or I don't know what we're trying to prove to ourselves by doing it ourselves, but just get help, just outsource the things that you don't like doing, the things that are too exhausting, and also the things that just drain you energetically, not only
Hmm.
physical energy, but also just mental energy, things that you're not passionate about at all, that you're just doing because you have to do it. See what ways you can actually delegate, and keep
Yeah.
that mental energy as well for the more important things in life.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You got to learn not to dwell on stuff that just isn't that important to you because, yeah, it can just suck you dry. And that's, I think, where a lot of things stemmed from with me in the beginning was that I was hyper focused on everything, every little detail, and I didn't take the time to focus on what my body needed.
Mm,
And yeah, it just makes a big difference finding that balance.
absolutely. And well, is your podcast out already? Can we put a link? Can we show people what it's going to be?
Um, I've slowly kind of started. So it's Me Vida Loca, the diary. So it's just kind of everything like talking about our daughter's injury, talking about being a teen mom, talking about being in business, different travel stuff, just a little bit of everything. Because, like I said, I don't think people share enough about the day-to-day things that they go through. And we see highlight reels on Instagram and Facebook. And I don't think that we realize the work that people put in to have that highlight reel or what they're going through in the background. And I want to be more open with people so that they understand that, you know, my husband and I have been together since I was 16 years old, but it definitely hasn't been all, sweets and roses. It's been a lot of work and a lot of putting in the effort. So I think that's another thing that I want people to understand in this day and age. I find that relationships just kind of end so quickly. People don't want to put in the work. They think that it just, if it doesn't come naturally, then it's not worth it.
Yeah,
So yeah, I like to share that kind of stuff. And yeah, hopefully, even if it helps one person, it's one person that, you know, feels a little bit better. That's the main goal. So we'll start at
exactly.
one.
Yeah, you start with one, and I'm sure that many, many more people will be inspired, will love hearing to that story because that's what we need right now. It's stories, and it's real
Yeah.
stories, and not just 15-second stories right?
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
7-second
Yeah.
reels, like long form, the real deal. So I'm really happy
Yeah.
you're doing this. I can't wait to start listening to your episodes. And Tara, thank you so much for this lovely conversation. I feel like we could keep going for hours, but
Yeah.
maybe
No
other
kidding.
episodes. Like this was really full of these little gems and really inspiring to hear your story. So, while we know
Yes.
your podcast, I will put them in the show notes and the description below once it goes live. And also, where can people find more about you?
I'm really active on Instagram. That's kind of where I share everything. So my handle is at Mama Gabes. I've had that since my kids were little. So it's MOMMAGABES. Yeah, and I'm on Facebook, Instagram, my podcast. That's kind of where I hang out. So
Great. Well, we'll find you there, Mama Gabes. And thank you so much for today. Take care.
you too. Thanks so much.
Hey Achievers, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did recording it. Please, please, please subscribe and review my podcast. It would mean the world to me. See you in the next episode.